Brian Wynia, and I'm the Studio Creative Director at Tripwire Interactive. The way science fiction plays into Killing Floor 3 is really about science gone wrong. So we're filming in Netherworld Haunted House here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. I grew up 10 minutes from here, and Netherworld was actually the first job I ever had as a professional monster maker. This space was not specifically made for Killing Floor 3, but there's so many bits of inspiration. We talk about science gone wrong, like, look at this place. Like, what the hell is that?
My name's Bill Monk. I'm one of the original founders of Tripwire Interactive, and I'm lead combat designer on Killing Floor 3. Everyone at Tripwire is big fans of a lot of the more old school sci-fi, and we took a lot of inspiration from Aliens, how their technology was, like how their computers looked, Terminator, Predator. And there's a lot of inspiration for me personally with like Total Recall, specifically in how it feels when a guy gets shot in that movie. There's just something about how the blood splats out of it that just looks extremely gratifying.
Horzine is basically leading bioengineering these weapons that are Zeds. There's no morals to it. I think a cinematic reference that I kind of drew inspiration from was Jurassic Park, right? Like with InGen, or even if you look in the Aliens franchise with Weyland-Yutani, you look at OCP in RoboCop. Those kind of references really were the kind of perfect balance of a believable science fiction that could happen in the future, but yet also support kind of our action horror elements. And from Predator and Aliens, one of the things that you see the most, you have these groups of well-trained badasses with all the firepower in the world, and they literally are just barely surviving. And that's when Killing Floor is at its best. Those are things that have inspired me and continue to inspire me, and to be able to bring those inspirations from not only working at Netherworld, but from various films and other video game projects, they're kind of all just that like primordial inspiration soup that we can interject in projects that we're working on.
In Killing Floor 3, we really wanted to take a step back and re-examine each Zed, what they could do, what their capabilities were, and really try to think of them as chess pieces.
This Zed does this. This Zed will challenge players this way. So for example, crawlers finally have the ability to crawl on walls. There will be certain elements and maps where you'll look to a wall and then just like a sea of crawlers will come crawling over it. Not only do they look disgusting, but their ability to flank players and overwhelm them takes that chess piece and elevates it to a level that's completely new for Killing Floor 3.
And one example would be the Scrake. So Scrake was always slow-moving, chainsaw freak. Now he has a grappling hook that's attached to his right arm, and he can actually use that to pull players into the horde.
They have a series of Zed tech is what we call it now. So like when you see a higher tier Zed, like the Flesh Pound, not only is it made up of various organic parts, but it has all these new Zed tech elements, so like visors and batteries and engines on it act not only as a sense of armor, but almost as a source of power and weapon to kind of build these things up. So one of the newest Zeds we have is the Impaler. Horzine's thought process on bioengineering a new Zed like that is like, what is a Zed that we could create that would take out like heavy armor? The general creative direction for it was an M1 Abrams tank meets a silverback gorilla and then just smashing a giant knife into its face. So when players are faced against that, I think it's going to be pretty intimidating, pretty rewarding if they can actually defeat it. The Cyst, the development of this Zed very early on is we obviously knew we wanted it to be disgusting, but also increase what it was capable of doing. So giving it a ranged attack kind of upped the lethality of that Zed. It's still a low-level Zed, but if you don't pay attention, if you don't prioritize those targets, they will take you out. During KF1 and 2, when you'd fight a lot of Zeds, they were all very similar in height. So you'd have these heads all kind of lined up in this like horizontal kind of cone of danger. And you could kind of strafe back left and right and shoot them. But now with Husks having the ability to fly, Flesh Pounds being dramatically taller, Skrakes being dramatically taller, crawlers crawling on not only the floors, the walls, Cysts, they have the ability as they're approaching you to kind of like dip and dive. The cone of danger has essentially increased dramatically. Anywhere on screen Zeds can be, so I have to kind of keep my head on a swivel and really learn how to prioritize my target. With some of my experience working at haunted houses, like Netherworld that we'll see here, when we were designing AI and we were designing our maps, we tried to think about essentially boo holes, like where can we spawn Zeds from that players might not be expecting. So when you're in the heat of combat and you're fighting these things and all of a sudden a flesh pound just rips down the wall next to you or smashes through a door or crawls out of a vent, it's just more ways to kind of amplify not only the action, but that horror element as well.
We really wanted to have more horror and dread, so we've increased the amount of total Zeds that we have in the world. It actually feels more intense, but it's not as spammy. It's more epic while still having time to actually feel that dread. In our previous games, basically when there was a creature that was moving towards you, there was almost nothing you could do to not take a hit. And we wanted a lot more kind of strategy and being able to dance with them, so to speak. So we've given players a lot more mobility. They can mantle over objects, they can jump through windows. We got a really awesome slide that they can do now if you're sprinting and sliding, and you can also dash out of the way.
So our level design team has done a really fantastic job of thinking about mobility when it comes to building these spaces. Having those zip lines in the world where you can use a multi-tool and deploy those and quickly jet across the map, or if my teammate's down and I need to get to them quickly, using a slide up to a zip line and getting over there to revive them and get them out of danger. All of it goes into designing a really fun map that players will play thousands of times. We also really need to think about environmental hazards. From classic explosive barrels, we have fans that you can use your multi-tool. You turn that on at a distance, this giant fan will kick on, suck Zeds into it and shred them apart. The map can be something that can be a danger to you just like Zeds, but a well-trained group of specialists can utilize the tools given to them and turn that map into their favor.
My name is David Hensley. I'm the Strategic Initiative Director at Tripwire Interactive. So when we started Killing Floor 3, we knew we had to make the weapons feel more powerful than ever, and the progression systems needed to be deeper than ever.
Each one of our Killing Floor games, the weapons are the star of the show. So in Killing Floor 3 was actually a challenge because we have the setting in near future, but we still want all the weapons to feel grounded. So we actually looked at a lot of inspiration from Elysium. We really liked how a lot of those weapons, they felt real, but they were futuristic elements as well. And we have a mix and match of different types of weapons like that, along with a thing that we're really excited about is our modding system.
We have roughly over 100 weapon mods coming in, so there'll be a lot of different options that players have to kind of adjust these things around.
So you can take a weapon and through playing, you get crafting material, which you can then craft schematics and apply these different types of mods so you can completely change how they work.
You craft weapon mods by earning different types of resources in-game, like say Zed tech from shooting a Zed, or you might earn some electrical parts from destroying Horzine equipment. And then at your hub, you can use these resources to craft and upgrade your weapon mods. Player may be able to change the ammo type, reduce recoil, or even change your fire modes.
We've got different types of sights, forearm grips so that you're able to hip fire a lot better, barrels that have different types of spread values, different types of muzzles, even the internals in the weapon. You can get extended mags, drum mags, light mags, which allow for way quicker reloads. A shotgun is always going to be a shotgun, but you can put other types of elements onto it for secondary modes. So for instance, a flamethrower with a shotgun barrel, or you could have an assault rifle with a grenade launcher.
We want players to be able to grow the power of that weapon and then also customize it to their play style or a tier 1 weapon and it be viable late game through modding.
When you're inside the hub and you're crafting a new weapon mod, you have the ability to equip it to your gun, go over to the gun range, shoot it, see how it feels, see what you enjoy. And the thing is, you can then save all of these weapon loadouts so that when you deploy into a map and you're fighting Zeds between waves, you'll have that ability to buy those weapons. Once again, it's allowing players to play the game in the way that they enjoy most.
We have deeper progression systems than we've ever had in any Tripwire game. For Killing Floor 1, you just had passive progression. Players didn't really have a choice at all. Killing Floor 2, we introduced skill tiers, so every 5 levels a player could select a skill for each tier they unlock. For Killing Floor 3, we've expanded on that greatly, where we have many more levels, many more skill tiers, and more meaningful choices for each skill tier. And then on top of that, players can level up each individual skill. So there's much, much deeper progression in Killing Floor 3.
The thing I was most excited to bring to Killing Floor 3 is all the new technology that we have at our disposal with Unreal 5. So each one of the iterations of Killing Floor, we always wait till the tech is way better so we can really level the experience up and bring something really new to the table and amplify everything to 11. There's just a combination of just so many small elements that we've improved over Killing Floor 2 experience. Hit detection, blowing limbs off. Gore is amplified and way more intense than it ever was before.
I've worked on all the gore systems dating back to Red Orchestra 1. For Killing Floor 2, we went all in on gore. We created the MEAT system. It stands for Massive Evisceration and Trauma. And we brought really cool things like persistent blood that never fades away throughout the match. So you can literally cover a level in blood by the end of the battle. For Killing Floor 3, we really doubled down on wounds on Zeds, and we really wanted a dynamic gore system. We want to be able to dismember any limb in any order. We want to apply wounds to it, and different damage types of different wounds, all visible on the Zed at the same time.
Every bullet hole that hits it stays there permanently. Exactly where you burn the creature is where you'll see its flesh burnt. So it just adds this whole nother level of fidelity. We actually have Zeds where you can blow limbs off and they'll keep fighting you if it's not a critical spot of that Zed.
So for example, the cyst, being able to shoot his legs off, he'll still crawl and attack you. And I've had moments where I've been in a game fighting Zeds and I might have taken out a few cysts, but then I'm attacked by a flesh pound and I'll be in the down state waiting for a teammate to come revive me. And I turn to the left and I look and I'll see like one of the cysts that I thought I took out is like crawling, reaching for me, trying to get its last attack on. It just makes for some really kind of like fun emergent gameplay. One thing that's always felt great in Killing Floor is shooting things in the head. We wanted there to be strong feedback when you do that. So variety was really important. Their heads are made up of multiple meshes so that it can essentially open up like flowering a head. And basically every time it kind of randomizes what that head could look like. Feedback in general when shooting something should feel good. It should be clear what you're shooting. When you shoot something that is fleshy, blood comes out, it sounds squashy, it sounds gross, it has that organic element. But then if I shoot a bit of Zed tech and I hear that ting, I see a little like electrical spark come off of it, we're reinforcing to the player what you've shot. When you shoot something, it should feel like, oh shit, that was awesome, and not, oh shit, I'm gonna be sick. It needs to be a celebration of violence. It needs to be over the top. You know, like Quentin Tarantino films where it's just so over the top that it reads in game. Killing Floor is essentially the game that helped Tripwire become what it is. There's so many devs that have been here since the beginning. And then we have so many developers who came here because of Killing Floor. And then obviously our fans, like we would not be here if it was not for our fans playing Killing Floor for that long. Returning fans are obviously going to enjoy coming back to classic wave-based combat. Continuing to learn about what Horzine is doing in the future, Tripwire's feel for weapons, grounded in reality, they feel impactful, how those classic Zeds that they've enjoyed have been upgraded, and what new Zeds are getting added into the mix. New fans, I feel what they're going to enjoy is the blend of action and horror and kind of the roller coaster ride that we've created, where you have this intense peak of combat and then this kind of moment to catch your breath, buy new weapons, and then instantly get thrust right back into that action and that horror. New players are really going to enjoy that pacing and that challenge that we've given to them.
So I hope you've enjoyed our exclusive look at Killing Floor 3. And if you want to know more, go to killingfloor3.com and wishlist the game. And hope to see you soon, and we'll slaughter some genetic freaks together.